Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today we are going to tackle a really tough but incredibly important piece of history, the 1971 genocide in what was then East Pakistan. This is the story of a brutal conflict that led to the birth of a brand new nation, Bangladesh. We're going to break down how this happened, what led to the deaths of millions, and how a country was forged in fire. So, let's get right into it. We're not going to start at the beginning. We're going to start right in the middle of the chaos. Just picture it. The city of Dhaka, a place buzzing with culture, with politics, with life. And then, in a single night, that entire world just shatters. An eyewitness put it with this chilling simplicity: all hell broke loose. This wasn't something that built up slowly. It was a sudden, violent explosion. A coordinated military attack meant to do one thing: terrorize. And this night of terror had a name: Operation Searchlight. On March 25, 1971, the Pakistani military brought its full power down on the Bengali people of its eastern wing. We're talking tanks, heavy artillery, machine guns, all unleashed not on a foreign enemy but on their own citizens. Someone who was there said the most overwhelming thing wasn't the sound but the smell of blood, a smell that just hung in the air. Now, this right here, this is not from some movie script. This is a real, desperate radio transmission from the East Pakistan Police Headquarters as they were being overrun. "We are already under attack by Pak Army. Try to save yourself. Over and out." It's just a haunting, real-time record of the exact moment a state turned on its own people. The very people meant to protect and serve became the first targets. So the question is, how on earth did it get to this point? How does a country literally declare war on half of its own population? Well, to really get the violence, you have to rewind and look at the country of Pakistan itself. It was a nation born in 1947, but it was, let's just say, a geographical oddity. It had two parts, West and East Pakistan, separated by more than 1,000 miles of India. One person at the time said the country was only held together by Pakistan International Airways and Islam. But as we're about to see, that just wasn't enough. Not even close. Let's just break down how deep this divide went. Geographically, they were polar opposites. Diplomats flying in from the dry, arid landscape of West Pakistan said the lush green of the East was almost such to hurt our eyes. But the real split, the one that mattered, was cultural and political. The West held all the cards: the capital, the government, the military headquarters. They tried to force their language, Urdu, on the Bengali-speaking majority in the East. It made the people in the East feel less like equal citizens and more like a colony. And this, right here, this is the absolute heart of the issue. This wasn't just about politics, it was about identity. Trying to stamp out the Bengali language was seen for exactly what it was: an attempt to erase an entire culture. When students protested to protect their mother tongue, they were shot dead in the streets. This created this deep, toxic belief in the West Pakistani establishment that the Bengalis were inferior, different, them, not us. And that kind of dehumanization is always a tragic first step on the road to genocide. So you have all this simmering resentment, and then it just boils over. Two huge events, back to back, lit the fuse. First, a catastrophic act of nature, and second, a democratic act of the people. And both of them expose the absolute contempt the ruling class in West Pakistan had for their own citizens in the East. Just look at how fast this all went down. In November 1970, the Bola cyclone hits. It's one of the deadliest natural disasters in recorded history, killing maybe 500,000 people. And the central government's response? It was pathetic, shockingly slow, and indifferent. A journalist for the New York Times said their attitude was basically, "Oh well, this happens to these people all the time." That callousness told the Bengalis everything they needed to know. They were completely on their own. Then, just 1 month later, Pakistan holds its first ever free and fair election, and the Bengali Nationalist Party, the Awami League, wins a massive absolute majority. They had the legal right to rule the whole country. But the West Pakistani establishment, the military, the politicians, no way. They refused to accept it. By March, they just postponed the government indefinitely. Democracy was dead on arrival. And this quote from the Awami League's leader, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, it just perfectly captures the moment. The government in the West had lost all legitimacy, all authority. As he said, legally, I am the authority, because the people were now listening to him, not to the military rulers. East Pakistan basically started running itself as an independent state. A collision was inevitable. So, with the political option completely off the table, the military went with violence. Operation Searchlight wasn't just a crackdown. It was the start of a systematic campaign to exterminate a people. The goal was to terrorize the Bengalis into submission. But it had the exact opposite effect. It lit a fire, igniting a fierce war for liberation and inspiring an entire nation to fight back against absolutely impossible odds. Now, it's really important we're clear about what this word means. Genocide isn't just a synonym for mass killing. It's a process. It has a very strict legal definition, born from the absolute horrors of the Holocaust. It is the systematic and deliberate effort to destroy a group. In Bangladesh, the Pakistani army wasn't just killing fighters. They were going after the very soul of the Bengali people. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The American Consul General in Dhaka, a man named Archer Blood, he and his staff saw it all firsthand. They sent frantic, desperate messages back to Washington, and they used the term selective genocide. Why? Because they saw the army had lists. They were systematically hunting down and murdering professors, students, artists, community leaders, anyone who could form the intellectual heart of a new country. And they specifically targeted the Hindu minority, who they saw as an enemy from within. The scale of this killing it's just almost impossible to wrap your head around. In only 9 months, from March to December 1971, an estimated 3 million people were murdered. Hundreds of thousands of women were systematically raped as a tool of war. 10 million people were forced to flee their homes as refugees. This wasn't some tragic side effect of war. This was the war. You know, these stories are incredibly difficult to tell, but they are absolutely essential. And if you agree, if you find this kind of work valuable, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps us continue to bring these critical histories to light. But out of this unimaginable horror, an absolutely incredible spirit of resistance was born. This quote, wow, it comes from a resistance commander who remembers a poor mother running up to him, a woman who had nothing, offering the only thing in the world she had, her son. She begged him, make him into a mukti, a freedom fighter. And the commander said that in that moment, he learned something profound. When the people of a country learn how to die for their freedom, there is no army on earth that can defeat them. So who were these freedom fighters? Who were the Mukti Bahini? Well, they were everyone. They were students from the university in Dhaka, farmers from the villages, women who took up arms, and thousands of Bengali soldiers who defected from the Pakistani army to fight for their own people. It was a true people's army. Ordinary citizens turned into guerrilla fighters, rising up from the soil, turning an entire population into a nation of resistance. They used hit-and-run tactics, making it completely impossible for the much better-equipped Pakistani army to control the countryside. Okay, so the final act of this tragedy, it was shaped by forces both inside and outside the country. You had the incredible struggle of the Mukti Bahini, a massive humanitarian crisis, and the cold, hard math of Cold War politics, all coming together to finally end the war and give birth to the independent nation of Bangladesh. The brutality of the Pakistani army created a refugee crisis that is just staggering to think about. 10 million people, that's like the entire population of New York City, were forced to flee on foot, pouring across the border into India. India, led by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, was completely overwhelmed. This crisis is what made the conflict an international issue and gave India the strategic and, frankly, the humanitarian justification it needed to finally step in. And here's where the story gets even more complicated. You'd think the whole world would rush in to condemn a genocide, right? But this was the peak of the Cold War. The United States, under President Nixon and Henry Kissinger, saw Pakistan as a vital chess piece in their grand strategy to open up relations with communist China. Pakistan was their secret middleman. So even though their own diplomats on the ground were screaming about the atrocities, the U.S. government kept supporting the Pakistani military. Human rights were sacrificed for geopolitics. Finally, in early December, after Pakistan launched a preemptive strike on Indian airfields, India officially entered the war. And that was it. The combination of the professional Indian army and the battle-hardened Mukti Bahini was just decisive. In less than 2 weeks, the war was over. On December 16, 1971, the Pakistani forces surrendered in Dhaka, the very same city where they had launched Operation Searchlight 9 brutal months earlier. It was a total and complete defeat. And this is what it was all for. The new nation of Bangladesh was founded on these beautiful ideals, right from its proclamation of independence. It wasn't just about getting a new flag. It was about building a society based on equality, on human dignity, and on social justice, the very things that had been so brutally denied to them for so long. When Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who'd been a prisoner in West Pakistan for the entire war, finally returned to his free country, he made this powerful declaration. It was a statement of survival,
of resilience. After all that suffering, a nation forged in blood and fire was here. And it was here to stay.
So that leaves us with this huge, lingering question. After the Holocaust, the world said, never again. But as the story of Bangladesh shows us, and later Rwanda and Cambodia and so many others, it has happened again and again. Geopolitical interests, countries hiding behind the excuse of internal conflict, and just a total failure of international will often paralyze the world while people are being slaughtered. Understanding what happened in 1971 isn't just about remembering the past. It's a stark, painful reminder of a challenge that is still with us to this very day. Thank you so much for joining us.